is Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. Thank you guys for tuning in with me. It's good to be coming at you again after a big win over Kentucky in Rupp Arena last night. Before I get into that, make sure you like, make sure you just share, make sure you subscribe to this thing, guys. I'd appreciate that. And, anybody you know it's a Tennessee fan or anything that checks out videos and stuff, make sure you send it to them. I'm going to be covering a lot of basketball. Baseball, we're inside of 2 weeks on baseball. Going to be covering a lot of that. That's going to be my game with this channel. If you're looking for pregame football, tailgate, go to Talking Vols. That's your channel for that. There's a lot of people out there tries to do things. Talking Vols. I was a part of that network, as you guys know. They do that stuff better than any other channel. That's your place for football tailgate, for football postgame, for Wednesday night stuff as well. They're the best. They were the innovators of it. But anyhow, let's get right into this thing. For any of you out there, there's different places have the same, the day after. I guess a guy actually used to do that a little bit for Talking Balls, but now, so I think back to the old movie Porky's, and the sequel to Porky's was The Next Day. So my installment of the day after is going to be called The Next Day that we're going to do. So it gives me a night to kind of think about it, a night to read all the quotes, look at things, and just go back on what was a big win for Tennessee basketball last night. And I posed the question earlier in the week after the South Carolina game. We looked at this week going in and thought it was realistic. Tennessee may go 1-1 this week. Would you have taken beating South Carolina at home and losing at Kentucky, or would you have taken losing at home to South Carolina and winning at Rupp? A loss is a loss, and I'd rather not lose to either team. To be honest with you, I've got a special hatred in my heart for South Carolina. If you've listened or you know me, you know all about that. But it's always sweet to go up to Rupp Arena, especially put 103 points on the board. It's the first time any SEC opponents put that over 100 on Kentucky since 1993. And that place was cleared out at the end. Such a beautiful sight. Looked a lot like football normally up there. So that was pretty cool to see last night. But just looking at post-game quotes, and Rick Barnes talked about it. And I'll say it's about Rick Barnes. I've been hard on him over the years, just failures here and there. I don't know. I've totally gone a total 180 on him this year. I really like what he's done this year. And you got to look at it in some of these games like the other night. They put a game plan in place, and you have to look at it. If they're not hitting shots or they won't take them, is that his fault or is that the player's fault? And I don't know. I've just gained a new perspective this year on what Rick Barnes is doing. I think him and his staff have done a great job. He talked about it, and I appreciate the fact that he acknowledged it. He said, we got a lot of guys sitting around watching Dalton Connect. This is not quote for quote what he said, but he said, we've got good players that can do this. We don't need to be standing around watching him, is basically what he said. And there's a lot of guys answered the challenge. He challenged Zakai Ziegler this week. He talked about that. He said, I'm very detail-oriented. I'm going to harp on him. Basically, I need you, he told Ziegler, and it said, you're one of the best point guards in the country. I need you to be that vocal guy as well. And he was really happy with what Ziegler done. I mean, Ziegler played a great game last night. He was the first guy to put up over 25 and with 10 assists. Gosh, it's been like 20-some years since he done it. I didn't see who the last player was that did that, but I just caught a brief stat on that earlier. But, Connect still had 16 last night, but it was a quiet 16. And John Calipari talked about it. They come in to guard Dalton Connect. They had a good plan. What was good to see, though, was Tennessee's other guys stepped up last night. So many guys stepped up. Ziegler, Josiah, Jordan James, both of them come out of the gates, hit 2 threes on 2 consecutive possessions. And Tennessee never looked back. They never looked back. Vescovy hit some big shots. Jordan Gainey, when he first come in, hit a big 3 and then had another pull-up jumper. Jonas Adu had a good game, had a double-double last night, did some things. And Barnes talked about there were some times where Adu got positioned inside and they just didn't hit him in there. So Barnes felt he could have did a little bit more, but that was not his own fault or anything. And he praised Adu, talking about how guys trust they have that dude behind them who can kind of control that inside. And, Tobe Awaka had some style. I loved it when you had Awaka had gotten the rebound and Dillingham swatted at him, and then Bradshaw come in with his cheap push, which should not have been a technical on anybody other than Bradshaw. And they say, well, there's certain words that can't be said. Give me a break. You're telling me these words aren't said the whole game, but they're said in a scuffle, then it's technical. Give me a break. That's a made-up rule. That's a made-up rule. That's all that was. That was to appease both teams, more to appease Kentucky, because that should have been a technical on Bradshaw and no one else in it. Dillingham shouldn't have gotten a technical. Awaka shouldn't have gotten a technical. Jordan Gainey shouldn't have gotten a technical on it. That's the facts right there. But I loved it when they're in the huddle after, and Barnes high-fived Awaka. He had his back on that one. And they asked Barnes in the post-game, have you ever seen that kind of mean streak out of Awaka? And Barnes said, yeah, I've seen it before, because people act surprised. But apparently Barnes has seen it in practice and stuff. And, the way Awaka's built, I don't think I'd want to be messing with him, especially if I'm as skinny as Bradshaw is. But Awaka's minutes in that second half, he got 2 quick fouls in the first half. His minutes in that second half were big. He controlled those boards while he was in. He really took over that middle. And Tennessee, one of the keys last night I said was rebounding. Tennessee out-rebounded Kentucky 43-37. What surprised me is as good as Kentucky shot, and Tennessee still controlled this game. And from what I've read, people in attendance, reporters in attendance, that Rupp Arena environment was hostile. That crowd brought it last night. But Tennessee responded. They were not fazed. And that's what fifth-year seniors should be doing. Josiah Jordan James, hats off to him last night. Been hard on him about not showing up, just because we expect more out of him. The guy's done a lot of good down there. Had a bit of a stretch, but so good to see him break out last night. Vescovy, I think he's had 4 good games in a row. Now, scoring around 10 points, he's hitting his open shots, but Barnes talked about him, how he's so unselfish, plays good defense, and does good things. Just a total team effort. I mean, just 3 minutes out of Cam Carr gets in last night. A rebound, an assist on that alley-oop to Josiah Jordan James. Played good defense during that time. I mean, it was a small amount, but he made it count. I mean, his one shot he took was pretty ugly, but it said he's a pretty good shooter, actually. Just an overall good night, and really nice to see it be a team effort. I mean, Jemai Meshack brings the defense, but his 4 points, both baskets were big. He backed down the Kentucky defender and got his first 2, and then the next one, Adu missed a shot in close, and Meshack came flying in and had the putback. Those were big buckets because Kentucky crowd was getting going after some shots, and Meshack did some good things too last night. But Tennessee rolls on. LSU comes into Knoxville Wednesday night. That's a game Tennessee should win. And, just a drastic – Barnes talked about it. He said, we can play fast. I was looking at the stats. South Carolina, going back to that game, I think they're like the slowest tempo, least shots per possession team in like all of Power 5. So just a drastic difference. And Tennessee's shown in 3 games against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, 3 teams that like to get up and go. Tennessee can play that style. They really can. And so, I think we like to say a lot they're a half-court team maybe. Maybe they're not as much of a half-court team as we think they are. Maybe it's other teams kind of dictate that. But just a really good night. And, again, a big positive for me was Dalton Connect, a quiet 16, but his teammates picked him up last night. Instead of sitting around waiting on him to do it, they picked him up. So Tennessee rolls forward. LSU Wednesday night, next Saturday night at Texas A&M. That'll be a tough game. Texas A&M's a good team. At Arkansas the next week, and then Vanderbilt comes in. So I do think it's 4 winnable games, but it's also 2 road games in the SEC. But coming later on, VFL review for the week. I'll come with a few things here. I'll drop that, releasing that at 4 o'clock. Go record it here in just a minute. And then, we'll get into some baseball stuff, more basketball preview, more basketball talk this week as well. But as always, make sure you like, share, subscribe. My name's Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Happy Sunday. Go Vols.